Hello, all you lovely fundraisers from across the Atlantic. Welcome to I Wish I'd Thought of That, the Americas edition. My name is Joe Burnett, and I'm the contributing editor for the Showcase of Fundraising, Innovation and Inspiration, aka Sophie. And we are so delighted to be running this latest edition of IWITOT. Sophie and our friends at Open created IWITOT out of the belief that we fundraisers can learn so much from our collective past. It's a wonderful opportunity for young fundraisers, and Nick Allen, love you Nick, to celebrate the ideas they wish they'd thought of. Some of the greatest campaigns in NGO history were born out of copying others, and I recommend you check out the story of Book Aid on www.sophie.org for one such example, and you are guaranteed to discover so many more today. Sophie exists so that no fundraiser should ever feel alone, and between our online treasure trove of case histories and examples of best fundraising practice and IWITOT, we are proud to be inspiring fundraisers every day. On behalf of everyone at Sophie, I want to thank our wonderful sponsors Bloomerang, Open, The Agitator and Blakely. We couldn't have done this without you all. Anyway, enough from me. I'll now hand over to our amazing hosts, Lisa Sargent and Suhaila Waheed. Thank you so much to all our speakers and to you for attending. Happy IWITOT.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Joe, for that introduction. And welcome, everyone, to IWITOT. I wish I'd thought of that. I'm Lisa Sargent, fundraising copywriter, coming to you from the great freezing state that is New Hampshire, USA. And I'm here with my absolutely extraordinary co-host, Suhaila Waheed.
Thank you, Lisa. I have to say I'm sorry that you're frozen outside. I wish that you could get some of the sun we have out here, because I am coming to you from Austin, Texas, and I'm sending you guys all that big Texas love. We are so excited to have you here. I cannot tell you, we've been tweeting about this for a little while now. I've been telling all my friends, so I'm super excited to join you guys today. So with that, I just want to open up some space for a little housekeeping so that we can keep you in the loop of what's going on. Yep. If you are feeling inspired, curious, moved, or motivated, make sure you head over to our chat box and let us know. We are fueled by your energy, and we want you to feel the vibes with us. So if you're feeling it, make sure you jump into that chat box and tell us how you're feeling. If you have any questions, that's also the space where you can let us know what questions you have, and we'll try to make sure that we get to you if possible. And the last thing is just to remember that at the end, once we've had a chance to listen to all of our outstanding and amazing speakers, we'll commence the voting once that process has closed out. And so we look forward to getting this started with you. But for now, I appreciate you guys being here and the time that you are spending with us. And I'm going to hand this over to the amazing and legendary Lisa Sargent to kick us off.
Thank you, my dear. So the first speaker, it's an absolute delight to introduce Kimberly Mckenzie from Barrie, Ontario, our fundraising neighbors to the north. Kimberly and I have crossed paths for probably, 15 years now. She now has her own consultancy at Kimberly Mckenzie and Associates. She's got deep fundraising experience, and I have to tell you, I got a sneak peek at her presentation, and when you are done watching this, there will not be a dry eye in the house. So without further ado, I bring you Kimberly Mckenzie.
I'm Kimberly Mckenzie from Barrie, Ontario, Canada. Thank you to all of you who have worked so hard today to pull this together, and especially Sophie for continuing to provide inspiration and innovation to fundraisers worldwide for what, oh gosh, it must be 10 years or more now. I'm thrilled to be here today. As fundraisers, you know that the human brain is hardwired to communicate through stories. We consistently open up our hearts and seek out the very best stories for our organizations. We use them in our direct mail programs, capital campaigns, impact reports, and when we get back to it, even our gala events. Stories are universal. They teach us our history. They teach us how to behave. They shape our view of the world, and they help us empathize, but mostly they motivate us to action. However, when it comes to gifts and wills, asking for stories can be hard. Sometimes it goes like this. Have you thought about your legacy? I mean, that's a tough conversation starter. In fact, to me, it sort of sounds like, what are you going to do with your money when you die? A lot of charities simply don't know how to talk about their legacy program, and they think of it as talking about death. But here's the thing. What if we talk about life instead? Talking about life is so much easier, isn't it? I mean, that's the idea that I wish I thought of. The Jewish Foundation of Manitoba is knocking their legacy program out of the park, not because they're talking about death, but because they're talking about life. Like most of the really smart things in this world, the Book of Life is a very simple concept. In exchange for people who have pledged a gift in their will, donors are invited to write the story of their life. If the task is too daunting, the fundraising folks will help them with an interview and some editing. And then they publish a keepsake book for them. They have events once per year where legators come and sign their book and celebrate their life stories. People like Mrs. Jean Duffy Odell. Mrs. Odell's grandfather moved to Canada to deliver milk. She grew up in Montreal, and in 1947, she went to university, and eventually she graduated from McGill with a master's degree in social work and worked as a social worker. In her story, she says, "My parents had a tradition of tithing, giving 10% of their income to help others. This value is one which I believe in too. There may have been women who have in one way or another contributed. There have been many women in my life who have contributed in one way or another. My bequest to the Women's Endowment Fund is a way to say thank you to these women and at the same time giving me an opportunity to, in turn, help others." Then there's the story of Adam Nepon. Adam is one of 9 children. Adam's mother, Leslie, made a decision to convert to Judaism before he was born, and she wanted to raise her family in a kosher home. Occasionally, as Adam was growing up, he heard people making disparaging comments about his Indigenous heritage, and it was never in a positive way. The knowledge that he was both Jewish and Indigenous took some processing for him. Adam's story is one of resilience, overcoming hardship, working hard at school, and eventually building a successful life for his family. In his story, he wrote, Adam's convinced that had he not had this foundation of community support in his life, he would not have survived. Adam sees himself as a proven outcome that the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba saves lives. Through Jonah's Memorial Fund, a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. And we have Lil and Lloyd Feinstein. Lil and Lloyd met as teenagers at summer camp. They married in 1955. They raised 3 children in Winnipeg. And as Lloyd worked as an accountant, and Lil worked as a school teacher. At the beginning of the story, they say, as we tell our story together, it becomes most obvious that we have had our share of joy and sorrow, both as individuals and as a couple. On the balance, though, the good outweighs the bad. Our purpose in telling our story is to pass on to our grandchildren a sense that their background and some of the life lessons that we have both learned. And they end their story with this. To our children of whom we are so proud, we say, we tried to be the best parents we could. And to our grandchildren, we say, we hope your lives are filled with love, laughter, sensitivity toward others, and that you will aspire to always try to do your best and remember pride in your Jewish heritage. But has it raised any money? Just the last 4 years, these are the financial results of this incredibly moving program. In 2019, they realized that means people had passed and the gift was transferred to the organization. They realized 17 bequests valuing over $2.1 million. And they signed up 13 new signers to the Book of Life, or legators. In 2018, they received 11 bequests for the total of $32,000 and signed up 15 more legators. In 2017, 11 bequests valuing over $1.2 million with 34 new legators, and 2016, 13 bequests for a total of $866,000 and 12 new legators. Overall, since 2016, this program has realized 152 bequests totaling over $11.5 million. I encourage you to take some time to visit the Jewish Foundation Book of Life and to read some of the hundreds of stories collected there. And while you're doing it, as you scroll through, I want you to think to yourself or ask yourself these questions. Is my organization's legacy program focused on a life lived or a life gone? Can I take this simple idea and help our donors with their stories? And when I talk about leaving a legacy, am I offering hope for the future? And finally, I'd like you to remember the dash. So I'm going to close with this poem. The Dash, a poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters most is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this dash might last just a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash? The Book of Life honors the dash. It offers donors an opportunity to share their values through their life story, knowing that those values are going to live on through their bequest. Where they came from, who their family is, what their truth is, and how through their gift, good work is going to continue. This is what legacy fundraising is all about. And this is why I wish I thought of the Book of Life. Thank you so much to my dear friend, Paul Nazareth, who introduced me to Laurel Hogan, Donor Development Associate at the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba. If you'd like more information about this program, Laurel has a wealth of information to share, and you can reach her here at lhogan@jewishfoundation.org. Thanks, everybody.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to try not to cry for this. Thank you very, very much, Kimberly, for that. Legacy is just, I see John Lepp had a comment about legacy and the power of a great legacy program. And there is just no way to describe. We've seen great legacy programs in action, and that's definitely one. Kimberly will be here in just a moment with a few to answer some questions that you guys might have. Suhaila, what do you think? Amazing, huh?
Yeah, it left me speechless, especially for one. I love the way that she ended, the dash. The dash poem. I was sitting here Googling it like, okay, I got to pull that up. I can do that again. But I just wanted to say that I appreciate what she brought here for us, because one of the most important things I think for us to take out of what we experienced last year is the fact that we are still here. We do still have time to elongate our stories. And every single one of our stories is important, and this is how we acknowledge and uplift our legacy. Yeah. And I love what the Jewish Foundation did in giving, their donors an opportunity to pay that forward. And so that was beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. She said something about the chance they would have to speak their truth. Just.
I was snapping the whole time, girl.
Right.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So shall we bring Kimberly on for Q&A? What do you think?
Please. I'm going to speak for the people and say, bring Kimberly on.
Kimberly.
Hey. Hi. Can you hear me all right, Liz?
I can hear you fine. You're looking beautiful.
Oh, so are you. Miss Halen, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Kimberly. I am so happy that we get to meet under these terms. This is, it's only 10:15, in Austin, Texas, and you already blown us away. So thank you. Thank you for starting this off.
Yeah.
It's a great story. It's a great program. It's a great story. I wish I thought of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Have we heard that somewhere before?
Yeah. So we have some amazing questions from the audience that we would love to, tap into. One of the first questions that came up was, do you know how the foundation raised awareness about the Book of Life? And is it used to attract new
legators? Yeah, it is. It's actually become a pillar program for the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba. And you can go to their website, and I think it's on the slide deck there. And it says right there, read the Book of Life. So they have hundreds of stories. And they also have an annual event, not this year, but they have a pretty prestigious book signing event so that everybody who has made a pledge that year can go and sign their book and have a celebration of their life, which I think is amazing because I love legacy programs that really honor people while they're there and can celebrate their life with them. So yes, it's a very prominent program in the annual report, and you can't miss it when you go to their website.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, do you know if they broadcast that in their print materials or anywhere else?
Yeah, there's letters, invitations, annual reports. I know that Laurel would be very happy to answer some of these details. But as you both know, legacy marketing isn't really marketing as in pushing. It's just something that is kind of peppered throughout every single channel. And it's it's a gentle pull, right? We're here, we're ready to have the conversation when you're ready to have the conversation. That's it. It's really soft and gentle.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep nodding, Kimberly. Just keep talking. Yeah, that was beautiful. I have to say one thing real quick. Just it reminds me of the dash was, I don't know if you remember on Twitter, the late John Hayden was, just all I could think of was John. So John, if you're up there, we're thinking of you.
John celebrated the dash for sure.
He did. He did. Wow. So do we have any other questions?
We do. The other question was, actually, I think we already answered one of these questions because you pretty much summed it up. It was just about who gets to read these stories, and you said, they posted that online, and so that was a wonderful way to try to transfer that information to their community. Yeah. Really thoughtful. Really, really thoughtful.
Yeah, that was super.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll just take a deep breath. I love crying. Crying is a good thing. We are passionate people as fundraisers. So yeah.
Very moving.
Got it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kimberly.
It's my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to all of the other speakers. And thanks to you both for putting so much work into this and the whole Sophie team. And thanks to Laurel for sharing her program with us. I know she'd be happy to hear from folks.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kimberly. We'll see you guys soon.
Absolutely.
Wow. Ooh, deep breath for that.
I'm so excited because I know that we started this off right. And I can't wait till we just get into these other speakers because there's so many beautiful things happening here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Now, I know, Suhaila, I think you're introducing our next speaker. So shall you want to take it away?
Yes, absolutely. So JP is going to be joining us today from Brazil. and he is the CEO of Brazilian Fundraisers Association, ABCR, and the leader of Dia de Dor, which is the Brazilian version of Giving Tuesday. JP is going to join us to talk about an impactful, unusual, and award-winning raffle run by a group of Brazilian nuns, y'all. So I'm just telling you guys, this is something that you're definitely going to want to hear, because this was pretty awesome for me to listen in on. So I'm just excited to, be able to introduce JP.
Hello there. I'm João Paulo Vergueiro, but you can call me JP. I'm from Brazil. I'm the CEO for the Brazilian Fundraisers Association. And today I'm going to talk about Fusquinha Abençoado, or in English, Blessed Beetle. In 2020, a organization from the city of Tubarão, in the state of Santa Catarina, south of Brazil. It's a small organization that works with children. They were running out of money because of the pandemic. They weren't able to host any more in-presence events, and they came up with an idea that was very interesting and very successful: the Blessed Beetle. What happened is they had a very old car. I don't know if you know the Beatles. This car, they were very famous in Brazil. They sold out like millions and millions for 50 years, and they had a gray 81 Beetle. It was in a very good condition, and they thought of raffling it. They made a raffle, and to promote the raffle, they recorded a video. So look, this is a non-profit, a charity run by nuns in Brazil. And the nuns in Brazil are usually known as very nice people, very funny, very open. And they recorded a very funny and interesting video that I will show to you right now.
Vivimos em tempos difíceis, mas não podemos desanimar.
Por isso, o Lar da Menina da cidade de Tubarão vai premiar você com o nosso Fusquinha 81, todo revisado, com pneus novos e sistema de som. Um Fusquinha abençoado.
Ele pode ser seu adquirindo bilhetes na secretaria ou pelo link. O sorteio irá acontecer pela Loteria Federal no dia 30 de dezembro.
Dizem que carro de mulher é bem cuidado. Imagine só se for de freira.
So I think you probably have enjoyed the video as much as I did. You can see that they say that if, at least in Brazil, we usually tend to think that women take care of their cars. So you can imagine nuns doing that. And when they started selling out their raffles, in 5 days, they sold 3,000 tickets. 3,000 tickets. We're talking about a very small organization in a southern state of Brazil. No one knows of them, but they sold tickets all around the country. What they did to do that, not only the very funny and nice video, but they also used WhatsApp. WhatsApp is very big in Brazil. Everyone uses WhatsApp. We communicate through WhatsApp all the time. We use WhatsApp even more than phones. I don't call my mom anymore. Actually, my mom doesn't call me. She WhatsApp me. And the video went viral. It went to national TV, local TV, national newspapers. So they sold 3,000 tickets. And not only they were out of tickets to sell, but people started giving money, donating to them. In the end, they invested $3,000 in this campaign, and they got $55,000 back. In the 3,000 they spent, it was the value of the car. Now you can imagine very nice nuns selling, raffling a car that they liked too much. They only an old car, how people were engaged and were glad to participate. And what we take from that, it's a very simple but funny video that they did. They raffled something that they cared a lot. Brazilians actually care a lot about Beatles. You can see people all around the country taking very good care of their Beatles. Brazilians love car a lot. I don't understand that, but we love cars a lot. So when the nuns were selling their own car, you can understand how unique, how special that was, and why it made people connect and want to give to them, or at least buy the raffle and get the chance to win the car, the Beetle. You would not only help, but also have the chance to get it. They made it look very simple, very easy, but also they made it look like they were giving up something that they cared a lot and make a change for them. But we're talking about taking care of children in a small state of Brazil. They used social media to get it out, to get the message out. They made something that you wouldn't expect. When would you expect a group of nuns to sell their own car or to raffle their own car in order to raise funds instead of hosting a bake party or like in bingos? We like bingos in Brazil, but we weren't able to do it anymore. They made you pay attention to their video, even though they didn't talk about their children. They didn't talk about the projects that they undertake in Santa Catarina, in the city of Tubarão. They made a very simple and nice, funny video that connected with whoever was watching it in Brazil, made the people want to help, to buy the ticket, or to give it to them. And that's why I think that this blessed Beetle idea that went viral last year, they got awards. They actually got 2 or 3 awards for the campaign in Brazil. That's why I think this idea is something that I would like to have thought about it, and I love it. I got to know it. I got to know the nuns. They are very simple, very humble people, very nice people, come up with an idea with very little support from the pairs in Santa Catarina, who went viral, sold out, got them donations, and helped them to go through these very difficult times that we're having in the pandemic right now. So thank you for watching, and I will be with you for questions.
Girl, was that not fun?
Right? I know, a blessed beetle. Oh, I see the light.
That was so amazing. Yeah, I am just super excited to have JP here with us so we can talk to him about everything that we just saw. There were so many different pieces, and I would love to introduce JP so we can get him in the room and talk to him about what just happened.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Hello,
JP. Hey. So
how are you today, JP?
Amazing.
Hi. Sorry.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you. It's summer in Brazil. It's quite warm around here, so everything is fine. I'm not like Lisa, I don't need to be all. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We just have to say I love what you brought here for us because it was so unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before, any type of fundraiser like that before. One of the things that I loved that the nuns did is that they brought their culture to the forefront of their fundraiser and saying, we love Beatles, we love cars, and we're nuns and we're no different, and let's talk about that for a second. And that made it so fun. That was something that everyone could engage in. That was something that obviously went viral. And so I was just really happy to see how they could turn a piece of your culture into something that was cool and super relatable, and that brought in the funding. So I was super excited for that.
Yeah, and Tubarão, the city where the nuns are, it's a very small city. You never heard of the organization. You never heard. You hardly hear from the city itself. Although they actually do run a community campaign for Giving Tuesday, but they they took the opportunity. We are going through a very hard time in Brazil because of the pandemic right now, because of COVID, and they had to do something in order to raise funds for them. And nuns, usually you think of nuns as really nice folk and really nice people, happy and funny, and they made the most from it. They had an idea. I see that one of the questions we have is if they came up with the idea by themselves. And actually, they had the support of a local PR agency that volunteered to help them to create the video. And they did it for free. They didn't charge the nuns for the video. So they had the car there. They could raffle the car. They wouldn't lose too much by doing that. And they went ahead and made the raffle and it became viral.
Can I tell you that my favorite part was when one of the nuns kind of dropped down a little bit and she pointed at the rims and the tires. I love that part. I was like, okay, we're getting down in the details now, so I love that.
Yeah, I think somebody said rosary on the rear view in one of the comments.
And you see, I love the idea, but as I said, I don't really like cars that much. I think I'm an exception, but yeah, the nuns like their car much more than I do, actually.
Yeah, and someone else, Adam Clevenger, actually said that he loved how the nuns turned a difficult situation into a positive and allowed donors to be a part of a fun solution. So I think that was key, keeping it simple. That was awesome. So yeah, why don't you take us off into some of the other questions that we have?
Yeah, I think we're time is flying by. So Simon is giving us a warning that we have to go fast here. How did the WhatsApp promotion work? Can you explain us a little bit about that, JP?
Yeah, sure. As soon as the raffle got a little bit viral, it got regional news. People started downloading the video from YouTube and sharing it on their WhatsApp groups. So we have hundreds of WhatsApp groups in Brazil, with a family WhatsApp group, a friend, a college. And I myself, I got the video from 5 to 10 different people. Hey, JP, have you seen this video? Have you seen what they're doing there in the south of Brazil? So that's how things work. It works bad ways for fake news, but it works for good reasons, as for sharing the NUMS video for the raffle.
Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely. Thank you. Like, honestly, this was so great of you to bring this to us.
My pleasure. I thank you for the invitation, for Ken, for Carolina, for Joanna, everyone on Selfie. Thank you for all of your work. And I will be in the chat room for more questions. Thank you. Have a great day today. Bye.
Take care, JP.
All right, Lisa, we are chugging along with some really great stuff today, right?
Yeah, we are. We're chugging along. So I think I'm going to just dip right into that next presenter, if that's okay with you, so we don't get this scolding for talking too long.
Yeah.
How's that sound? Okay, cool. So I am hugely honored to introduce the next speaker, who is Rakesh Lakhani. He's the executive director at Future Possibilities for Kids. And I have to have a true confession here. I actually previewed Rakesh's presentation, and I don't want to give it away. I won't even say who he's talking about. But the thing that I love is that, first of all, Rakesh tells great dad jokes, and also he talks about a whole other world that raised a whole bunch of money to do a whole lot of good. And without further ado, I'm going to let Rakesh talk to you about that. Introducing Rakesh Lakhani.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rakesh Lakhani. Thank you to Sophie for this platform for fundraisers from all around the world to put their egos aside and promote innovation and celebrate other organizations. I'm really honored to be a part of this. First of all, be prepared for dad jokes galore. I won't even notice the difference because when I tell these jokes in person, in real life, it's dead silence anyways. And also, I'm going to be going low tech because I'm sick of PowerPoint, so I'm mixing it up. You'll see what I mean in just a second. I'm here today to answer the age-old question that has plagued society for centuries. How can a plumber riding a dinosaur help raise money for children? Well, me and Mario and Yoshi right here are going to talk about that today on IWITOT, which is a lot of fun to say. Just try it. Say it a few times fast. It's a lot of fun. IWITOT. I have been a video gamer for my whole life, and it wasn't always in the mainstream. I would get made fun of, or people just wouldn't understand why I was so into this. I never believed that one day video gamers would actually become the heroes that we played in the games. I want to talk to you about the Extra Life platform at www.extralife.org, where their motto is play games, heal kids. This is the virtual peer-to-peer fundraising event before there were virtual peer-to-peer fundraising events, before the pandemic. This is an online space which unites thousands of gamers from around the world to support children's hospitals in Canada and the US. But it didn't start that way. This began when the community rallied to support a 15-year-old girl named Victoria Enman in Orange, Texas, who was battling acute lymphoblastic leukemia. After hearing about her numerous hospital visits and bouts with the disease, Jeremy Adams, a radio host at the time and an avid gamer, shared her story, and the gaming community stepped up and began sending her video games to help keep Victoria's spirits up, which she loved because she was a gamer herself. Unfortunately, she tragically passed away, and Jeremy wanted to do something more in her legacy. So Extra Life was born as a 24-hour video game marathon to raise money for the hospital that treated Victoria. In the first 2 years, hundreds of gamers raised over $300,000 US from 12,000 donors. But this was expanding and reaching new geographical audiences. So many community members wanted to raise money for hospitals that were closer to home. And that's when the partnership with Children's Miracle Network that represent hospitals across North America was born. And then it was on like Donkey Kong. And due to the scalability and minimal infrastructure of this, it blew up. I'm going to share more about how this campaign is doing in just a little bit. Now, I acknowledge that you might say this is daunting, you might not see the appeal of video games or how they apply to your audience, or you might be asking, what am I going to learn from this? But I think we should always be interested in what other organizations and initiatives are doing that we can adapt and modify and learn from and bring into our work. When it comes to creativity, don't fall prey to the scarcity mindset that's plaguing our sector. I'm going to take that. This is what I want to do with the scarcity mindset. Crunch it up, throw it away, just get rid of it, right? Let's be open. So what were the things that I really liked about this that made it special, other than the fact that I love video games so much that I legitimately had kids just so that I'd have an excuse to keep playing video games? It started organically. Many ideas do that. Great ideas start small, there's a story, there's passion behind them, and that's the foundation on which they're built. If we're truly fostering innovation and creativity, ideas are going to come from many places in our organizations, from people who care. So let's let those ideas breathe. They also really capitalized on market trends. Video games, esports, gamification, streaming to raise money, these are very significant and growing. And for anyone not believing that they're a real deal, Dr. Lupo, a very famous gamer, raised over $2 million for St. Jude's Hospital in 24 hours in December of 2019. They also were building a unique and evolving experience for their audience. So one thing that they did, which is quite interesting, is they actually managed to create the gamification of gaming. So that's your Inception moment. That's a little spinny thing from the movie Inception. And I was like, wow, this is bending my mind a little bit. But what they did is they had badges and real life swag you could unlock and special items and avatars you could have that rewarded you for being part of the community. And they also did something that I feel we can do more of in our sector, which is rewarding loyalty. You got to have more flair every time you came back and fundraised for another year that you could show off to your friends. And every year they would add some new elements based on trends and feedback and enhancing the user experience. I think sometimes we may take people for granted and keep doing the same thing over and over again, assuming they're going to be happy. And I think we're missing something there. They also kept up to date with the technology, and again, something I think our sector needs to think about, but they partnered with Twitch, which is a streaming platform where as you're watching a video game stream, you can donate and it pops up on the screen as to who gave and how much. It's pretty cool. They didn't make all this change overnight. It's many years in the making, and change does not come in a flash. It's continued effort over time. The other thing that they did is they really know their audience. They knew that this is both an existing and growing audience and that they could create a sense of community, but also leverage the existing community of gamers that were already there. The founder knew what the community needed. They didn't pander to the community. This was built based on a deep knowledge of what people were looking for. They even called the gamers heroes, which speaks to what video gamers and perhaps donors want to see themselves as. They turned virtual accomplishments into real world accomplishments, doing good for others. They also really knew what people valued. Many people might say, I don't care about a virtual badge or a special avatar, but this audience really does, and it's a true source of pride for them. And that's another lesson for me in don't go just with what you like. Now, when it comes to results, this initiative definitely gets a high score. They had famous gamers taking part in adding profile to local healthcare needs. Some of these gamers have followings of tens of thousands of people, and so it's a great way to reach new audiences. And they did reach new audiences. Sometimes we are not always going beyond maybe 2 degrees of separation of our base, but they reached over 130,000 different heroes who were gaming for good from 42 countries, and they raised funds from over 250,000 donors. And the money raised, in the first 2 years I mentioned, they raised just over $300,000 US. By 2020, the cumulative total was over $70 million raised for hospitals in numerous North American communities. Now think of all the good that's going to do. And this continues to this day, and in full force during the pandemic, it's very sustainable. So whether you think that video games are the answer or not, I think this brings up some really important questions that we need to keep asking ourselves. Where do you find unique and growing communities to support your cause? What can you do to tap into trends that align with your impact? And how can you make people fundraising on your behalf feel special and feel part of a community? To me, that's really the most important lesson out of all this. Now, if you're thinking, I can't go there, I can't tackle this, I'm going to bring out the other, I have backup pieces of the scarcity mindset piece of paper. I'll bring them out. I'll crumple them up again as a reminder. We really need to be open because you never know which idea is going to be the one that takes off. I really hope that you can see now how a plumber on riding a dinosaur can help raise money for children, and maybe with a little help from a really fast hedgehog like my man Sonic over here. As a lifelong gamer, I wish I'd thought of that. And to all of my fundraisers out there, stay up and keep pushing for better because what you do matters. Thank you so much.
Wow, really, truly amazing. Like, I'm so loving these presentations and the high tech, visual props. Those were great.
Oh, that was amazing. I mean, from start to finish, that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, truly. And I will tell you that we're so wrapped up in the questions and answers that we're running a tiny bit behind. So what I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to jump right into the questions for Rakesh.
Do it. Let's do it.
Cool. Hey, Rakesh.
Hey, everyone. How are you?
We loved your presentation.
Thank you. It was...
Yeah, really great. Really great. One of the things, like, I'm writing down things in all caps as you're speaking, like heroes, feel part of a community, reward your audience, know your audience, reward loyalty, just so much to unpack there. From gaming is so cool. I don't know, it's great. So I just want to jump really quick into this. I've got one question to start with. So someone said 70 million is incredible. How did the partnership raise money?
Yes, good question. So the primary thing was people playing video games and inviting their network to watch them or support them playing. I've had a couple of friends do this, and they're raising, a few $1,000s just locally. So it really is that simple. It's like, I'm playing video games for a great cause. Come watch me play live, and especially if they're friends with other gamers. But even if they're not, it's sort of like when you have those walks and the runs and the bike rides, which are all great in their own way. It's like, hey, I don't want to do those things, but I'm still doing something of value. That's something that takes skill and that I've been practicing, that I'm really good at, and I'm doing this for a good cause. So that's really was a peer-to-peer driven initiative for that 70 million, which is quite amazing.
Is it ongoing today? Still underway?
It absolutely is. And like I said, it's very sustainable in this pandemic because of the nature of this, that it's very much full force at this point, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking when you said people come watch me live. And then I'm thinking, well, nobody can do anything live anymore right now. So virtual world, virtual. I mean, it's great. Virtual fundraising. So cool.
So innovative. So innovative.
Yeah. Really, truly amazing.
It was awesome. And thank you for, crushing up the scarcity mindset and throwing that in the trash. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your
I think
time.
you should send those out as conference swag. You know what I mean? Just hand them out to people.
As you're coming in. Crumple this when you feel ready to let it go. That's right.
That's right.
It feels good. It's therapeutic. You should try it.
It is. Throw it in the wood stove and let it go.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Rakesh.
Yeah,
thank you,
Rakesh.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye.
Suhaila, I will turn it over to you to introduce the next speaker.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. So we are going to jump right in, and because we're bringing into this conversation a social entrepreneur and startup founder, Lori Muniz Malcolm, and we are so excited to have her. She created Heart Press and Brokers of Good. And Lori, who is actually also from Canada, chose her IWITOT idea because she said it is simple and easy and not a lot of paperwork or planning. So this is going to be quite lucrative, as in her words, and we are so excited because this is going to be super intriguing. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome Lori to present.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Muniz Malcolm, and I'm really excited to be here. This is my first IWITOT experience, and I'm even more excited just to hear everyone's presentation. So thanks for Sophie for having us. So a little bit about me. I worked in fund development for over a decade, and I actually left it, even though I loved it, to work in PR and marketing with small businesses and startups. And I realized that I'm actually an entrepreneur, and my heart really lies within the charitable sector. So I started a company called Heart Press Brokers of Good, where we connect businesses and charities. I am coming to you from beautiful west coast of Canada. I live on Vancouver Island with my husband and my 16-month-old son, and we just love it here. I'd love to connect with you, so come find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or check out Heart Press Brokers of Good on any of these channels. So a little bit about Heart Press. We are a small all-female team, and we connect businesses that want to donate, and we accept charity requests for things like more than just cash. So in-kind donations, volunteer requests, collaborative marketing, pro bono services. We're a complete matchmaking service for charities and businesses. Presentation was probably coming up with the idea. And it was, did I want to make you guys cry? And did I want to make you guys laugh? And then I just thought of KISS, you know, that whole thing of keep it simple, stupid. Except with the little one in the house, we don't say stupid, we say silly in this house. And that's when I stumbled upon this. My fellow Canadians may recognize this woman. This is Dr. Jane Philpott. And back in 2004, before she was involved in Canadian federal politics, she was a physician at the Markham Stoufel Hospital. It was just outside of downtown Toronto. And she challenged her colleagues to give a day's pay to help support the fight against HIV and AIDS, which became the campaign known as Give a Day. To the Stephen Lewis Foundation. This is a grassroots campaign across Canada, and Stephen Lewis Foundation works with communities and families in Africa and affected by AIDS and HIV. And to date, this campaign has raised over $4.5 million in Canada. So why am I bringing this up? Why is this successful? Well, there's a few reasons. One of them is that it's simple. Yes, the simplicity of this is what makes this great. When, you know, as a fundraiser, you're always involved in other logistics around fundraising. So whether that's a gala auction and collecting things, or a really big campaign and having all these details to organize, you know, the beauty of Give a Day is that it's really simple. And it's a really simple concept for companies to understand. There's not a lot of work involved. The employees can either say yes or no, and they can give either via their paycheck or give directly. So the simplicity of this is really amazing. The other thing about the Give a Day is that it's fair. And what I mean by that is that you're not asking your, you know, newly graduated nurse for the same amount as you're asking your chief of staff. This is done by what a day's pay would be. So you're also not playing around with numbers, right? You're not asking them to, you know, give a specific dollar amount. And this is this is a much easier ask. The other reason why this has been successful has been because the medical and legal communities have really taken this and kind of taken it as their own. And they are, and so, you know, the majority of it, the majority of the 4.5 million has actually been donated by one law firm in particular. And it's a Canadian law firm based out of Toronto called Osler, Hoskin, and Harcourt. And back in 2004, Michael Fatek had heard about Jane's idea, and he really wanted to bring that into their firm. So they've collectively, since then, have raised over 1.4 million. So let's talk about the ask. I talked about a little bit about how much an easier ask that is, and I haven't delved into the psychology around it, but I did ask a number of people in my network, you know, would you give 1 day of pay, or would you give, you know, say a $500 donation? And the 1 day of pay was met with way more acceptance. There's something about just asking them asking them in that, taking that perspective, it's just 1 day of pay out of 210 days of the year that you work, you know, would you give one up? So again, it's an easier ask. When you are thinking about your next fundraiser, just remember to, about KISS. So, oh, not that KISS. Not that KISS either. This one, keep it simple, silly. And remember the simplicity of the Give a Day to World AIDS by the Stephen Lewis Foundation. Thanks everyone for listening to my IWITOT presentation. I'm Lori Muniz Malcolm of Heart Press Brokers of Good, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. Thanks.
Wow. Wow.
That was fun.
Yeah, really fun. You know what I loved about that is the offer. So rock solid and imaginative, crystal clear. Nailed it.
Yeah, and I'm saying this common theme of like keeping it simple, you know, and we just overthink things so easily, and it's just like our answer is right in front of us. Yeah. Let's bring Lori on because we already have a question for her.
Hi guys.
Hi, Lori.
Sorry. Yeah, we had a little conflict with data. Okay, so he's here.
Hi, baby. Yes, I can tell you a lot of my Zoom meetings have I've had little friends join me as well. So, you know, so yeah. Thank you, Lori, for you know, bringing this idea to the stage. I have so many notes from what you brought forward, and I really appreciate you taking that time out to do the presentation.
Great.
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump right into questions, right?
Yeah. For sure. Somebody in the chat box asked, do you know what the average donation was?
No, I was trying to look into that, and I was trying to do the math around what it was, but it looked like a firm would give around $125,000 a year is what that looked like.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. One of the questions that I had as well was, you know, I saw the comparison between asking if they would give a day versus asking if they would give 500. Was that done in the same appeal? Was it a give 500 or give a day, or was the request just one of them?
Oh no, what I did was, and that was just myself anecdotally just trying to figure out, like, you know, just the thinking behind that. You know, if you said give a day versus 500, so I basically sent them the same ask, but in a different, the same setup, but a different ask. And yeah, for some reason, just being able to say, yeah, I would give, you know, it's the same concept as like, you know, would you give up your, you know, Starbucks for a day, right? Or like, would you give up your coffee for a week kind of thing? You know, not really looking at the total, but just what could you, you know, yeah, I could give that up. And so I actually would like to look into that a little bit more around, because that's such a, you know, you could apply that to so many other things, right? Around how you phrase, you know, are you asking for a specific amount of money, or are you rephrasing that to, you know, to give a day or to give up, I don't know. Yeah, give up your dinner out this week, or, you know, like those kinds of things. Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
It's all right. It's all right. Lori, somebody just said lots of love for the junior fundraiser.
I also appreciate the corporate act, you know, it being an opportunity for us to connect with some of our corporations, be it in the, you know, judicial field, or the or medicine or tech. You know, there's lots of space there for us. So thank you, Lori.
Yeah, well, and just to even add that there's so much more space. Like there's actually not a lot of firms and hospitals and things like that that are actually participating. It's actually coming from a smaller group, and so there's so much more room for that, right? And so if you're thinking about where they could just go so much further with the dollars raised. So yeah, that's awesome for them.
Cool. Lori, we have one other question. Someone has asked, are people who take part asked to support the foundation in other ways as well?
You know what, from what I looked at, it was just through the Give a Day. That's what they ended up supporting. Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
And that they were supporting was just that Give a Day, and they kept it simple, and that was so that they knew every year that that's what they could count on. And they just kept that.
Yeah. We appreciate your time, Lori. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Amazing presentation.
Bye,
Loved
Roman.
it. Loved it. Bye, baby. That's awesome. I love when kids come on. I say kids, dogs, everything.
I have some very often features with my nephews all the time, and so I'm like, this is such and such, and then this is the other one. So, you know, welcome to the family. So
that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Start philanthropy early.
So, Lisa, you'll be getting us started with our next speaker, right?
I will indeed. And the next speaker is Ryan Steele, and I'm just gonna take a quick moment and just share with you a tiny bit about Ryan. So Ryan is with Kansas State University Foundation, and he's a young fundraiser who is, oh, I love this, an imaginative advancement professional whose early career has focused on stewardship and the donor experience. Yes, Ryan, awesome. And I have seen this one too, and I have to tell you that if you don't adapt this idea that Ryan is going to talk about, I am absolutely going to, because it's again, we're talking about an amazing offer. Ryan's going to talk about the Pete Buttigieg campaign in a way that you guys have never seen before. Very cool. I'm going to give you Ryan Steele.
Hello, I'm Ryan Steele, and I work in the fundraising industry in the United States. And I'm going to assume that most, if not all of you, when giving to charity, are giving nice whole amounts like these, $15, $50, or maybe even $100. But have you ever given $18, $73, or $212? I'm guessing not, and if so, maybe by accident. But that's exactly what the Pete Buttigieg campaign asked their supporters to do during the fundraising campaign I wish I'd thought of, the Pete for America Leaderboard Challenge. A little background. Pete Buttigieg was a presidential hopeful in the 2020 election cycle for the presidency of the United States. And like all American political campaigns, fundraising is a top priority, especially around the many ever-important deadlines. To raise money quickly in the late stages of the campaign, Pete turned giving into a game with the Leaderboard Challenge. The Leaderboard Challenge was a digital fundraising effort that utilized the theme of a game in which donation amounts were consecutively listed on a leaderboard in dollar increments from $1 to $2,800, the maximum amount allowed for individual contributions to a political candidate in the United States. Each individual amount was up for grabs, and the first supporter to donate that specific amount, or high score as they referred to it, would be listed on the leaderboard with their name and location. If another supporter beat you to it, it was game over. Well, kind of. Your donation was, of course, still accepted, but your name would not make it on the leaderboard. Instead, when the challenge was complete, in addition to those that made it on the leaderboard, they featured the names of all supporters who contributed during the game. To further incentivize gifts and to celebrate friendly competition, the leaderboard cleverly highlighted at the top of the page the most recent player, the highest score, and the next amount available. It's simple, yet brilliant. And while the idea on its own merit is great, it's brilliant for more reason than one. It's brilliant for 3 reasons, actually. Its use of gamification, the engagement sparked, and its adaptability. The Leaderboard Challenge was launched in late February of 2020, just ahead of an important campaign milestone where having extra monetary support was crucial. The campaign needed to create excitement and urgency for support in a short time period, and through gamification, they did just that. Because the idea created a sense of urgency to get your name on the leaderboard, supporters flocked to the idea to get a chance at being listed. The intentional use of a theme created a sense of playfulness, making giving fun. Best of all, if all the slots were filled on the leaderboard, the effort would have raised over $3.9 million. Incredible. And just like the genius of the gamification, there was a stellar approach to how the challenge played on social media, and it played well. Chasten, Pete's husband, put out a tweet to engage supporters asking someone to donate $616 because he and Pete got married on June 16th. Within minutes, there were plenty of likes and retweets. But more importantly, somebody took him up on his challenge and donated $616. With momentum, why stop there? Chasten thanked the donor via Twitter and started a thread asking for another meaningful number. It was quickly grabbed as well, and the process happened again and again. This social engagement turned the gamification personal, and it was twofold. Not only was engagement sparked and more people driven to the leaderboard to give, but supporters were also now giving their own meaningful amounts and sharing on social media, furthering the reach of the campaign. A fringe benefit of this engagement was that it inspired supporters to make contributions even if it didn't put them on the leaderboard. For example, this music teacher who gave what they could, $6.16, in response to Chasten's tweet asking for $616. Ultimately, this social engagement, coupled with gamification, had supporters giving quickly and giving more than they would have if it were just a regular giving website with a clever marketing pitch. The challenge raised more money and did so in a personal way that sparked engagement. But don't take my word for it. Check out these tweets from supporters in response. From their own words, you can see that people were saying that even though they gave moments ago on the regular campaign website, the gamification drew them to support again. You can also see that people who were initially going to give a smaller amount increased their support because the amount they were going to give was taken on the leaderboard, but they still wanted to participate. This dynamic duo of gamification and meaningful social media engagement paid dividends for the cause. And while that is all great, the best fundraising ideas are all the better when they are adaptable. And this idea is just that. This idea could be relatively simple to emulate. Think about it. A great way to use the leaderboard concept would be to incorporate it into a giving day where you're trying to garner support in a short time period, or even as part of your organization's Giving Tuesday fundraising efforts. If you've got the budget, create a sleek branded site like Pete's and couple it with a social media effort. If you're short on budget or have a small but mighty staff, you could create a social media campaign around giving a meaningful amount and use your already created website. The options are endless and advantages plentiful. And just think of the opportunity to be able to thank your donors in such a special way as you now know what inspired their donation amount. Since I saw this idea just a little under a year ago, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. And I'm not sure about you, but a fundraising campaign that raises more money, sparks social media engagement, is adaptable, and one you can't get out of your head, well, that's an idea worthy of saying, I wish I'd thought of that.
Again, I'm just going to make the mind blown thing every time somebody gets off. It's amazing.
One of those things that Rakesh had where we're just like, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at something super dope. He just crushed it. Like, that was a Donkey Kong moment. That was amazing. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, totally. And the behavioral science, like behind the leaderboard, people picking dates that are meaningful to them. It just, small or large gifts, the music teacher, like, you just cannot, there's just so much to use there and adapt.
Yes, absolutely.
And I believe we have Ryan. I think we can bring Ryan on for Q&A. Yes? Yay, there he is, Ryan. Woo, nice job.
People are loving you, Ryan.
Great. As I said, it's simple yet brilliant.
Yeah.
Apparently a lot of people are asking, the big question is, what software platform was used?
My assumption is that they probably used internal staff and created that themselves. I'm not sure that they probably used an external software company. But like I said, it's adaptable. I'm sure there are software companies out there who can make it happen. And if not, sort of modify and
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that someone wanted to know was, do you know where the names of the supporters were published?
Yeah,
just to circle back.
Yeah, during the challenge itself, they were there listed on the leaderboard. And then I didn't catch the end of the campaign myself, and it's no longer live, but I'm pretty certain that they left all those there and then sort of had a montage of the rest of the names of people who didn't make it on the leaderboard but did give.
Yeah. I like how you also at the end, you sort of transitioned over to give people ways that they could make that adaptable for their organization. Just really stellar. I love that.
Yeah, especially for small organizations, that was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, the best ideas are adaptable, and when we can copy and share, it makes the whole industry better.
Yeah. And the world. That's what we're
That's
after
right.
here.
Exactly.
So one other question, somebody said, it looks amazing on mobile. Do you know how payments were being taken?
So I know that I believe you could give via Apple Pay, and then I think also through ActBlue, which I believe is kind of the way in which American political campaigns is kind of the processing that is kind of required to be used, I think. But I do believe Apple Pay was also an option, but just sort of a general giving form.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Somebody just said in the comment chat box, love ActBlue. So. So, I mean, I think, are you going to hang out on the group chat box for a little bit?
Absolutely.
Ryan? Cool.
Yeah, I'll be there. If anybody's got other questions, happy to answer them.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for that really stellar presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for the opportunity.
Take care.
Man, this is getting good. This is getting I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm so thankful for Ryan and all of the other speakers that we've had come on the stage. They have really come out swinging with some awesome fundraising ideas that we can utilize in our own space. So I'm really appreciative. So we are going to move into our next speaker, who is the amazing David Perez-Rufo, and he is currently the CEO of Corporativa de Fundaciones. Sorry, guys, I should have read that again before I said it out loud. And this is a community foundation whose primary objective is to transform the conditions and create vulnerability, exclusion, and injustice in our society. And he's working against that really hard. And so David is coming to us from Mexico, and we're really excited because he has an extraordinary personal story to share. One that has actually impacted his fundraising. And so he's going to be taking us back a bit, about 15 years, to a fundraising seminar that happened. And David, I want you to take the wheel and just take us back. Let's time travel a little bit.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Perez-Rufo. I'm from Mexico. And this is my I wish I would thought of that fundraising idea. Imagine I was giving a consultancy to a Holland foundation to their grantees in Chicago. They were from Brazil and Italy, and they were working in a very integrated community of Italians, Poland, and Mexican people down in Chicago, USA. This is 50 years ago. So there I find myself teaching the principles and the techniques of the professional fundraising to this group of persons. They were from, they came over from all over US, and they were this consultant talking to them about boards, strategy, the case statement, the range tables, and so on. You know that. We are very keen to, the professional fundraisers are very keen to use metrics and strategy and objectives and KPIs. When we finished the consultancy, they invited me to have to participate or to be on this religious celebration. There was a Catholic religious celebration in a huge church. Then I was sitting there respectfully and listening to the priest, who happens to be one of my colleagues that were in the consultancy. At the end of the celebration, he just say, "Hey, I would like to have a word for you, my friends." And we decide that we will help this month. Our monthly fundraise is going to be to help single mothers in our community. There are some volunteers around you, and they will hand to you a device. Once you fill it with hopefully 50 cents coins, I will ask you to return it to the church and to have this fundraise strategy or this fundraising, our monthly fundraising event. What I was very, very keen is that I was teaching the strategy, the professional fundraising, and when I realized that this device was handed one by one to every and each participant of the celebration, and asked to fill it out with 50 cents coins and return it to the church, I was very amazed. And the device was this. It was a filling bottle, and the volunteers had it out. And actually, this is a picture of the original filling bottle. As you will see, it is in Spanish, it is in English, and it is in Polish. So there is an integrated community, and this is the device. I have lessons from that, and I would like to share it with you. Sometimes we forget the simplicity of fundraising. It is very valuable, a community validated cause, which is this single mother event, a strong and some kind of planning, but a candid and a very, very creative way to have a collection mechanism. I was very amazed how easily they fundraise, and I wish I would thought of that, and I have this as a lesson learned. Thank you for having me in this event, and so long for everyone.
That was cool.
Come on, right?
Yeah, that was dope. When he showed, when David showed the item that they were fundraising with, I was like, okay, way to get the point across. Like, seriously.
Right? Except like he led us all up to it and then bam, just dropped it. Like mic drop. Just so unbelievable.
Yeah, that was awesome. Unfortunately, we do not have David here with us right now to transfer into Q&A. Am I right, Lisa?
You're right. You are correct.
Yeah. So we want to show appreciation for what he brought to the table. Yes. Going to that, like that, our answer is right in front of us. And what I love that he spoke about was how the priest took the time while he had everybody in front of him to make the ask, number one. And then number two is that he made that experience so memorable by showing, not only did he say, we're doing this for the single mothers, but he also brought out an object that would show the importance of this. Mm-hmm. I mean, and way to move somebody,
Yeah. Tangible. So, you can hold it, you can feel it. It's just,
we all know that. Yeah, we've used that. And I'm sure that there were so many parents had felt connected to that item at some point, and even if you weren't a parent, but I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, you could immediately think, I don't know if you were doing this, but being a direct mail girl since the dawn of humankind, I always look at that stuff and think, how could it be converted to direct mail? And there's millions of ways you could do that. It's just like you said, it's the symbol, it's the artifact, it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, so thank you, David, for your presentation, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and your day to bring us that wonderful idea, because I definitely thought of that.
Yeah, definitely. All the love for that, David. Really good job.
Yeah.
I think I'm up to introduce the next speaker. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is Clay? Oh, yay. So this presentation, a lot of people bash Giving Tuesday. I mean, I know a lot of people don't, but let's face it, if you're on Twitter, you hear it every now and then when Giving Tuesday is going on, there are people bashing it. Clay here, fortunately for us, what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas, because Clay Buck is coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada to talk about Giving Tuesday with a presentation that I have to say again, because I watched the previews and I have seen it and it is wonderful. And Clay is an expert fundraiser for a long, long time. He's been in the trenches. He's a certified fundraising executive. He's AFP master trainer. He's just a million great things. Served as the president of the Las Vegas chapter of AFP. Wrote a report for Rogari. It goes on and on and on. And I might be a little bit biased because Clay is also my very dear fundraising friend. And I would like to introduce you. Please give it up for Clay Buck.
Hi, Clay Buck here. I'm really excited to be a part of this and grateful to be included. There's a lot, I think, to think about when we start to look at 2020. I think it's going to be quite a while before we really settle out and know and see the implications in fundraising across the whole year and how it affected us and what things worked and what things didn't. But I'm excited about what we saw in 2020, and I'm excited about what it says for the profession, despite the difficulties that we all went through in getting here. For me, 2020 was quite an evolution. Learned a lot myself, learned a lot of things about how I approach the work and what we do. And one of probably the biggest adjustments for me for the year is that 2020 is the year I kind of became a Giving Tuesday advocate, apologist. Now, I've never been a huge detractor. In fact, I really believe the philosophy behind Giving Tuesday and what it stands for, and celebrating giving, on creating a worldwide movement on giving back and being a part of philanthropy is good and just and true, and something we should all be striving for. So I've always loved the philosophy behind Giving Tuesday, but what bothered me about it, and where I always saw it problematic, was it became this, well, I always kind of joked, it's not giving, it doesn't say Asking Tuesday, it's Giving Tuesday. And too often it gets interpreted as a day when we're all going to go throw emails out into the world and ask for on that day, because that's the day. Because really, if we think about it, Giving Tuesday in and of itself is not a case for support. But unfortunately, sometimes that's how we've seen it be used. So I've been, I suppose, a little bit of a detractor, not for the philosophy, but for the practice sometimes. But 2020 sort of changed my mind, because we saw so much adjustment. Now, there was a lot of advice throughout the year about, best practices out the window. Actually, it was those organizations that doubled down on best practice, especially in individual giving, that really brought some great things to bear and really saw some great results. So as Giving Tuesday came, what we saw was more and more organizations fitting Giving Tuesday into a broad strokes overall strategic fundraising plan, and that got really exciting. These numbers just came out right before I put this together. Again, the results for Giving Tuesday in and of itself just went up immeasurably. Well, not immeasurably, because clearly here we have numbers, but it certainly had a huge impact. And again, it was those that really built it into the ongoing strategy of their adjustment and the dreaded pivot word from 2020, of bringing it into the full strategy. So when I saw this campaign from Lotman, Maska, Neal and Company, a renowned direct response firm in the United States, this just excited me. And it as soon as we started talking about, I wish I'd thought of it, this was the first one that leapt to mind, because I really wish I had thought of this one. A really cool, very exciting, very, very energetic campaign as part of Giving Tuesday that fit into a broad strokes whole strategy. So what it was, a postcard, which just a direct mail postcard. Now, we always think of Giving Tuesday kind of as a digital or online phenomenon. This took it and made it part of the direct response plan and the direct mail plan. It's a postcard, so already it's a little different. It's not your standard direct mail letter. It's standing out in the mail from other things that come. It's bright, it's big, it's bold, it's simple and direct. In this case, and there were a number of different organizations I know that did this, so there were slight variations on the theme, but we see this great picture. There's a very quick, short, simple, straightforward message. And then on the back, it's a quick call to action, right? It's personalized. There's a quick call to action. So here are the things that you can do as part of Giving Tuesday. You can donate, you can wear this sticker, and you can share, and it gives options for sharing through social media. So we get 3 immediate calls to action in a very simple, straightforward way. And we have a little bit of a visceral, tangible, doable thing that I can do with a sticker. People love stickers. I love stickers. And for us in the United States anyway, it really hit at a great time. So this mailing came in between a Thanksgiving mailing that dropped at the early November, depending on which organization and how it was implemented. So there was a Thanksgiving mailing, and then the year-end mailing was coming. So this came as a reminder in the middle. There was also a digital strategy that supported it with email. But here comes this. It's not really a specific ask. It is a call to action, and we get this delightful sticker. The timing of it was wonderful. This might not have made international news. I'm not sure if everybody heard it, but I don't know if you know, we had a little bit of an election in the United States this year. Nothing major, nothing that didn't, impact, the world at all. Might not have been in the news. But this came along at the same time or shortly after that election and hit on something that everybody in the U.S. is at least familiar with, which is our I voted stickers. And you see it when we vote, we see people posting all over the place with their I voted stickers and all of that. So this tied into sort of a national feeling and a national trend as well, something we're familiar with, getting that sticker and standing up and saying that I participated in democracy. And this hits on that same kind of action with the I gave stickers. So there's just a lot packed into this neat little package that really could drive engagement. It's a little bit of a delighter. It hits on multiple streams. What about results? That's the question. I don't know, honestly. Anecdotally, I watched that hashtag during the day and looked for others and saw some activity online with people posting their Giving Tuesday. But because it was coming as part of a stream, who knows? Did people give on Giving Tuesday because of this postcard? Did they use a reply device because this reminded them of a previous solicitation? That's also, I think, what is so bold and exciting about this is the organizations that did do this. It was more than one, right? Coming from that firm, the organizations that did do this doubled down on something that might not be immediately measurable as a result in and of itself. Sure, you could compare who received this mailing to who gave to, right? When did it occur, and make some extrapolations. But in a way, this was an investment in, we're going to keep reminding about that renewal. We're going to keep reminding about this engagement. We're going to stay visible in a tangible way, in addition to the digital strategy and fitting it into the overall whole. So, and this is one that, boy, I wish I'd thought of this, because it really is a neat way to drive engagement, to keep the message going, and again, provide some tangible results to it. So I'm excited about it. And I'm sure as numbers get crunched, we'll hear more and more about it. But this is just a cool way to implement something really neat in the midst of a long ongoing year.
So fantastic. Honestly, right? Can you believe that?
Yeah, that was really creative. That was really, really creative. When he said, we love stickers, I was like, I love stickers too. Like, I guess, everybody just loves some good stickers. And so I thought that was super dope, that they included that on the postcard. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. The timing of it was impeccable this year, and it's direct mail. So, hey, really, truly. And I love the way he broke it down for everybody. So the calls to action and all that stuff. And we, of course, have Clay on screen. If you guys want to bring him on. Somebody just said, I didn't know Clay before, but I love him now.
Aww.
Come on, Clay. We all love you.
Hi, Clay. Nice to meet you.
To meet you. You are rocking this. You guys are amazing. Can I have 2 seconds, Lisa, please? Nevada. It was a big thing in the election. So just everybody that's here, just Nevada, we're sensitive. It's okay. Moving on. Nevada. I know, right?
Really?
I know.
Oh, I'm such a New Englander. I'm sorry.
Well, it's snowing. It's snowing here today, so we're getting a little of New England in the world. Anyway.
Nevada. Okay, Nevada. I'll try to say that now. So I got to ask you one question. So somebody said there's actually a few questions here, but one of them is, do you know if the charity or others that use this DM see donors posting pics of themselves with the I gave stickers?
Yes. I did hear anecdotally that people did see it. I actually tracked the hashtag as much as I could. I was just looking for it. So I saw some. I don't know. I personally don't know of any organizations that use it, because of course with Lotman, this is, they used it for, I'm sure, multiple clients and kind of all over the country and all of that. So I don't know what others saw. I did see some hashtags, and I think that is important. But what is important is it's that multi-omni-channel that we always talk about, right? It's a tactical direct mail piece that's driving, and maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but it got people thinking about other channels. So I don't know that there's any actual numbers to that, but I know there was some. It's kind of all of that immeasurable stuff in some ways. What seeds did it plant that we don't know about?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing you can think about is online. I mean, I know you guys have all seen the same as across our clients. They are giving online in droves, often in response to direct mail. So the driver is the DM, but the online giving, because nobody can go anywhere in COVID, their timing was perfect.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
One of the things that I loved about your presentation, Clay, was that you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, to be the critic as well. Because we all have great ideas, or ideas that we think are great but are actually not so great, right? And we put them out because we think we have good intentions, And sometimes we do have to step up to the Twitter plate and say, hey, I don't know. I think there's a better way that we might be able to do that. And that takes vulnerability. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the questions that was asked was, this is simplicity at its finest, well-timed and well-executed. Everyone loves a sticker. Did you see any other great direct mail that helped convert you to a Giving Tuesday fan?
Oh, wow. Boy, that's a good question, because I did see a number of organizations start to reference Giving Tuesday in direct mail, in more digital solicitations. I think I saw it referenced in multiple places, really kind of for the first time. I practiced saying the word strategy before I came on, because in recording, I don't know why, I just couldn't say it right. What I really saw was more and more organizations, more and more fundraisers using Giving Tuesday as an overall strategy, not just, a blanket email the day of, but in multiple streams, in digital, on social, in direct mail as well. And I think it lit up just some really nice engagement across the board.
I like the thing that you said too at the very beginning, which was, Giving Tuesday is not the offer, like that's not the reason. So, and that postcard said it all. The front was, feed a senior person in your neighborhood, which is just, it's tangible. And somebody said that people love the tactile aspect, which the stickers. Oh, somebody else asks, what size was the postcard? Do you know?
6x9, maybe? I don't know off the top of my head. It was sizable, right?
Probably
so that stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably oversized a little more.
It sounds like somebody's already in the design studio. They have already put up Photoshop. They're in Canva right now. They're ready.
Right. Somebody's on the phone. Hello, can you design this?
Right. I love the idea. Here's the other question that I have is, how many of those postcards got put on refrigerators? Or sat in the bill stack? Like, how much residual memory did that have? Even if people didn't do it then, or forgot, or came back to it, or went by the refrigerator and went, I meant to do that, I didn't get to use my sticker, because it has that tangible aspect. Did it get kept? Did it get not tossed in the trash right away? Who knows? That's also why I like the boldness of it, of investing in something that we may not be able to measure it, but seeing the residual effect could have ripple effects.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody wants to know your favorite airport, Clay. No idea why.
That'd be McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, the best airport in the world. I know who asked that question, and that's the answer that they're expecting. In Las Vegas, Nevada.
And you know who asked it?
I do. That would be Mr. Adam Clavinger.
Oh, Adam. Yeah, he's on Twitter too. I've been chatting with him.
Yeah. Good man.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So thank you so much.
Oh, the pleasure's mine.
So
you two, seriously, I mean, are rocking it. This is awesome. A pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it.
Fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Clay. We appreciate you. There are so many things that are coming out of this. Before we had this conference, I was toying around with trying to figure out a donor stewardship, idea, and this is really helping me meld these thoughts together. And so I'm just so grateful for all of our speakers, because, they're just slam dunk after slam dunk after slam dunk, and I wasn't ready, but I'm ready.
Isn't it? It's so true. It's like light bulbs. You watch them and you're like, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. That's what I kept trying to say on Twitter to people. Like, if you don't do this, seriously, we're going to take these ideas and we're going to run with them, because we're not waiting.
Yes, absolutely. So I am more than excited to introduce our next speaker. We're going to be heading over to LA, Los Angeles, because we are looking to hear from the amazing Alan. Was one of the founders of digital fundraising through his agency, Donor Digital. And I want you guys to just take a breath in and hold on to your seats, because he's going to take us on a wild ride through some more political fundraising. Not that there was a big election in the US, no big deal. But, this one is certainly one that you don't want to miss. So sit back and let's jump over to Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Allen with a presentation for I Wish I'd Thought of That. Mine is on how to raise $207 million online after your cause has failed. What you can learn from President Trump. So as probably a lot of you know, there was an American election on November 3rd. President Trump lost. He refused to concede. He refused to say that Biden had won. And he immediately started raising money, as you can see from this headline in the New York Times. And this 207.5 million US dollars was raised in November, in the several weeks after the election, where Trump sent out hundreds of emails and text messages saying, "I've been robbed, the Democrats stole the election, demand a recount, fraud with the voting machines, et cetera, et cetera." Trump started raising money the day after the election, but he was not raising money for a legal challenge to the election results, but for a personal political action committee, a kind of slush fund of money that he can use to pay for his jet, hotels, meals, fancy suits, etc. As of the November 30th reporting, he had raised 207 million US dollars. And I think when we get the reports at the end of January, that may reach $400 million, all for his personal use. And he's basically committing a fraud against his supporters. They are not reading the fine print. They don't understand that this is not money to try and change the results of the election. It's just money to go into his private slush fund, or fund that he can use for basically any kind of political expenses. Just to look at a few of them, they're pretty interesting. Now, I'm not saying that you and your NGO should duplicate what President Trump did, far from it, but it's an amazing example of what you can do if you've got a huge and fanatical supporter base. So there's actually a Twitter account called Trump Fundraising Emails, believe it or not. And in November, it showed that Trump sent out 498 emails, an average of 16 a day. I doubt if very many of you are sending out that quantity of emails, although, as we know, generally, the more emails you send, the more money you raise. Here's a typical one. The line was, "Do you want our country to be run by Joe Biden, who would be an illegitimate president?" And this Twitter account said he'd sent it 7 times since December 11th. He often sends out the same thing over and over again, each one a few days after the first. So this one says, "Friend, how can a country be run by Joe Biden when Americans believe him to be an illegitimate president? The American people are upset, and they have a right to be. Unlike the fake news media and their Democrat partners, President Trump always cares what you think. So send me money." Here's just some samples of his text messages. I love to see how this stuff works, and I usually give the candidates, $5 early in the cycle so I can get on their list. President Trump, we will not bend, we will not break, we will never give in, we will never give up, we will never surrender. Stand with us now. Donate $50, donate $25. Then I get another one, final notice, your Patriot Weekly 1000% offer was reactivated for 1 hour. As fundraisers, about matching gifts and so forth. The Trump people was just complete baloney. They just made stuff up that didn't make any sense about 1000% matches, which are illegal in this kind of fundraising. Are you watching the president on the rally stage in Georgia? We're printing the last donor list to give him. Will your name be on it? Some pretty clever messaging that raised a lot of money. Here's some of the emails, and this one is from the certified website of President Donald J. Trump. Please contribute any amount immediately to get on our updated list of patriots who renewed their 2021 sustaining membership. They had some kind of nice ones. This one on the right, where it says America's Defenders, they had a scrolling list of donors. I mean, I'm sure they just made this up. But, when you see Paula gave $5, Cecilia gave $42, this kind of thing obviously makes you want to give too and be part of this great group. If you scrolled all the way down and read the fine print, you would see that 75% of each contribution first went to Save America, which was Trump's personal political action committee. And basically none of the money went to actually dispute the election, which is a legitimate thing. I mean, if a candidate believes an election was not fair, they have the right to go to court and try and get a recount, et cetera. And Trump did that over 60 times and failed every single time. But none of that work was paid for by this kind of fundraising. This was from an article in Politico, but the majority of that money is likely not going to any sort of legal account. Trump's fundraising operation is instead sending it to a new political organization created by the president, essentially a type of slush fund with few restrictions on how the money can be spent. Just a few lessons. I mean, I know a lot of you are probably not trying to learn lessons from the American former president, but here's what I was thinking. First, if you have a huge and fanatical supporter base, you can raise a lot of money around anything, no matter how dishonest or crazy. Please do not do this. Number two, if you're a big liar with a huge platform, you can raise a lot of money. Until Trump was deplatformed by Twitter, he had something like 90 million Twitter followers, a gigantic, second only to some pop star. And three, and this one is true for all of us, I think, more is better, at least within reason. Trump sent literally thousands of emails and text messages in the 2 months since the November 3rd election. And, you just keep seeing those and you think, gee, maybe I should give. Or you happen to be looking at your phone at the minute one of those comes through and you give. So the main lessons we can learn is don't be a lying crook. But the other lesson is, a sustained program of emails and text messages can raise money even for a crazy project. Listen, thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Nick came through with the heat, man.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I was like, I can't believe he's talking about this. This is just, I don't know. I don't have words for it.
He got real. I mean, but he really acts like what we were all thinking when we were seeing that, campaign happen. How is this happening? And so, he took the time to bring us inside and see what was going on, because there's some things to learn there.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. So we have Nick here, and we are super excited to bring him on because we definitely have some questions.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize for bringing the dark side to I wish I'd thought of that. I know everybody else had these beautiful, positive examples of great fundraising and mobilizing your supporters through innovative techniques. But here's somebody who did an incredible job of mobilizing supporters through the big lie. I mean, he had the platform that very few NGOs have, but he just kept lying for 5 years and has, maybe raised $400 million after the election for stuff that anybody who was paying any attention to the real truth knew was complete BS.
Baloney. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned from your presentation, as well as seeing this happen in real time, was that he knew his donors. You know what I mean? Like he knew his crowd down to the T, at what time to talk to them, how often to reach out to them. He was like, listen, you're gonna hear me talking, you're gonna come listen, so I might as well just spew it out. So we have some questions. We definitely have some questions. So you want to get us started with some of the awesome questions?
Yeah, the first thing I have to tell you is someone in the chat box said, great example of rage fundraising. I just got to get that comment. You need to see that one. The other one was, which I imagine this answer is going to be substantial. What was the average number of emails per day?
I don't know, like a typical donor, I would see them coming in, but I didn't count them. Years ago, well, this just reminded me, years ago, when I was working with the Humane Society of the US, we had a huge number of donors after a disaster. So we decided to divide them into 3 groups. Given that we had a brand new donors who all came in on the same issue, we thought it'd be a great opportunity to test frequency of email messaging. This was before text messaging. So we divided them into 3 groups. One who got, kind of minimal amount of email, one who got the average amount of email, and one who got email whenever we had anything to say, whether it was fundraising, advocacy, news. And the idea was to run this test for a year. Well, after 3.5 months, we stopped the test because the people who were getting the most email were giving by far the most amount of money, and they were not unsubscribing at any substantial rate. And I think, political fundraising in the U.S., which may be it's one specific piece of worldwide fundraising, but the frequency is almost unlimited. Partly also because typically they don't care about burning out the list. Everything, the day after the election, every single staff member leaves basically, and they just leave the pizza boxes on the tables. So they don't care about, they don't care about long-term, multi-year value of the donor, but, more is better. I think, that's probably the thing you can learn from this.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the thing that at the end, when you were talking about a sustained program and the continuation, like you continually communicate with people, all I kept thinking of was people who have that annual giving program and they send one appeal a year and they can't figure out why their retention is crap. And there's a happy medium in there, but you have to communicate with people or they don't know you need anything.
The other thing is, of course, most people don't, most people get a ton of email that is not important for them. Yep. And they don't even notice that you sent them an email. It really depends on if you're popping up when they're paying attention. Yeah, that's the difference. The reason why so many organizations legitimately send so much email the last week of the year, because more people are paying attention. A lot of people, at least in the U.S., are not working. They have the week off. And, if you pop up at some moment on December 30th, they see you and they give. They didn't realize you sent them 20 other emails that month. Yeah. Frequency, if you can, if you're a small NGO, sometimes it's hard to afford. You just don't have anybody to write and send those emails. But, more is still generally better. And ironically, the more email people get, the more you probably need to send to keep up with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I know a lot of clients that I have, when I write a base email, we'll write 4 or 5 subject lines because basically they change the subject line and somebody hasn't opened it. If it's a new subject line, you can keep the body copy just the same. So it's
also in focus groups, we always found most people have no idea how many emails they were getting from an organization. And if you ask them, do you think this organization sends, too many, not enough, or about right, people who like the organization think it's about right. Even if it was like, 20 emails yesterday, they don't even notice and they don't care. So, but I think the other thing about this Trump stuff is just, it's a stain on, on fundraisers, right? Just to do something, to send out asking for money with a completely deceptive intent,
Yeah.
But hard to fight that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much. Even though you did bring the dark side over, it's the button, come to the dark side. We have cookies. So
okay. Now back to the light side, the bright side. Thank you all.
Thanks, Nick.
Great. I wish I thought of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we agree.
Lisa, so someone wants to know, if you have heat in your home. I think
Tom Ahern. Tom, yes, I have heat in my home. I do, but I'm freezing. It's winter. I love winter, but I'm always cold. So there you go.
I'm not going to lie. I have a blanket under the desk because I'm cold too. And it's
that's a good idea. I should have done that, Suhaila. Oh, geez. I don't think ahead. So I think am I the next person to? Yes, I am. Okay. So I get to introduce Tamara Rahmani. And Tamara has been leading the Western Canada Charity Engagement Team. I'm just going to read this to you for 1 second. In Vancouver since the fall of 2018. During her time, she has been fulfilling her passion for social justice, yes, by working with thousands of charities. And I want to tell you, Tamara has a really timely idea today, and she had a little bit of help. She was mentored a little by another Sophie friend and partner of Tom Ahern, who's picking on me about my winter attire here, Simone Joyot. So without further ado, I would like to give you Tamara Rahmani.
Hello, thank you for joining. I'm Tamara Rahmani. I'm based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I work with the organization Canada Helps. So in mid-March of 2020, quite early on, the start of the pandemic here in Vancouver, British Columbia, A group of community advocates came together to try to mitigate the disproportionate effects of COVID-19 on the poorest neighborhood in the city. The poorest neighborhood in Vancouver is the downtown east side, which is also sadly the poorest postal code in the entire country. It has seen decades of issues with crime, homelessness, unaffordability, unemployment, and an opioid crisis that has been exacerbated by COVID-19. At the start of the pandemic, it was very clear that the 15,000 people who live in the downtown east side were at risk of a massive community outbreak. Of those 15,000, 3,000 of them are homeless, and 4,700 are at an added risk living in privately run single-room occupancy hotels, or SROs. Under their conditions, self-isolating and social distancing is extremely difficult. The tenants share bathrooms, and many do not have access to soap, making regular hand washing impossible. They also do not have kitchens, and soup kitchens at that time had been shut down, and food banks had very limited stock. So the community advocates named their project the Dts Response Fund, or the Downtown East Side Response Fund. And what initially was meant to be a stopgap plan of soap deliveries became a hugely successful fundraising initiative, raising over $400,000 in the first 6 months that was granted out to 29 frontline nonprofit groups in the area. They had also secured 70 monthly donors, 2 community long-term projects, and a contact list of over 2,500 people. But almost most importantly, their success is in the fact they rebuilt capacity for the people on the front lines and reinvigorated awareness about the pre-existing crises in the neighborhood. I know that some of us in the fundraising sector were grappling with whether to hit the brakes or cautiously move forward in our work at the start of the pandemic, but this group has really shown me that doubling down on the urgency and momentum of a crisis can actually bring about change to not only the issue at hand, but also to the pre-existing issues facing a community. That is something I wish I had thought of. And here's how they did it. The DTS response team started their goal very small. They knew that frequent hand washing was one of the most important ways to combat COVID-19. However, how do you wash your hands if you don't have soap? So they had to figure out a way to raise funds to buy soap and then effectively distribute the massive quantities of it. The best way to do that, they discovered, was by activating the amazing existing frontline organizations in the area. These nonprofits were at risk of having to close down because of the pandemic, and this partnership really let them continue their critical work while they shared information, distributed resources, and acted as mutual support with the DTS response team. As more needs emerged, like food, hygiene products, stipends of loss of income, and cell phones, the group decided to focus on online donations to grant out to their newly partnered organizations. And this would eliminate the complications with in-kind donations or cash gifts. What they needed to facilitate this was a website, an email sign-up like a MailChimp, social media accounts, a fundraising backend, press release, and an online donation platform. Once they had arranged all their assets, connected with their points of distribution, and they really also doubled down on fundraising. Some of the key ways they engaged donors was they looked polished. They had a very clear logo, a name, mission, and a professional-looking website, as well as a branded donation form. They also immediately released a press release that had a very clear call to action. COVID-19 does disproportionately affect people on the downtown east side. They called on the media. It of course helped that they had some connections, and they repeated the same call to action on their platform and social networks. For them, repetition wasn't a lack of creativity, but it also reinstates urgency. They asked people to share and repost their content. They told their supporters that even though restrictions prevented them from volunteering, spreading the word can be just as effective. They focused on building their contact list because they believe that good data is more valuable than just a one-time donation. They sent a lot of emails and were always driving to their website where their donation form lives. And they thanked their donors a lot. It took a lot of time for the small team, but it went a very long way. And they also benefited from purchasing Facebook ads. All this repeated month after month allowed them to keep the momentum of the initial urgency. But as I mentioned at the start, it renewed the awareness of pre-existing issues in the neighborhood. And as a result, government officials, philanthropists, and people in the greater community are now more vested in this community than before the pandemic. The DTS response team went beyond just addressing the concerns of COVID-19 and has gotten the neighborhood that much closer in ending the cycle of poverty. And this has shown me that crisis creates momentum and urgency that poses as an opportunity for us to reshape our communities for the better. And that is why I wish I had thought of this.
Crisis poses as an opportunity.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah. I do want to take a second to, just thank Tamara for coming through with that really important message. And I also want to thank all of our healthcare professionals and friends and nonprofits who are essential to making sure that we are safe as a community. And so I really love that, that message came through because it was really important.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the things that I loved about that, one thing she said, good data is more valuable than just a one-time donation. So, one of our other presenters, Clay Buck, you can hear him out there probably cheering out loud because data means everything, for us, for our work.
It does. And I know unfortunately, we don't have Tamara here with us right now, but I know that she would absolutely, I'm sure we could probably reach out to her at some point with our questions just to get more information about, how they pulled this off. This was a huge effort, and I think it was awesome that they did this.
Yeah, lots of thank yous, Facebook ads, those get a lot of a bad rap, and they can be quite effective if you know what you're doing. So, crisis poses as an opportunity. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think you are the next speaker introduction, are you not?
Yeah. So we are going to be moving on to Paul, right? So thankfully, we are so excited to have another amazing, 20-year fundraising vet come through, Paul Nazareth, who will be talking to us today. He is a Canadian speaker, and he wants to talk to us about how even though your most small and obscure ideas may occur, when cultivated the right way, we can turn them into something that's truly amazing for the sector. And so I'm more than honored to introduce Paul to the stage.
Hi there, I'm Paul Nazareth of the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, and I'm excited to join the Sophie community today for the I Wish I Thought of That conversation. So, what do I wish I thought of? 20 years ago, 3 teenagers who were computer engineers came home for Christmas, and their moms forced them to go to church, as moms are apt to do. And these 3 teenagers were sitting in that church pew when the basket was passed. And they looked at that donation vehicle and said, "Are you kidding me?" Again, late 1990s. Here in Canada, we know the organization that they went into their basement and built on their home computers as Canada Helps. Long before I or anybody was involved with this organization, it was founded by 3 teenagers who sat in a church pew, saw the opportunity, and did something. Now, they talked to many charities as they were consulting and starting to get this idea up, although the favorite conversation was with their pastor, who said 2 things that you definitely don't want to, or maybe you do want to say to young people, which is, you're young people, you can't make a difference, what could you do? And that's what the kind of thing that fires people up. And 2, don't worry, this internet thing is going to blow over. And these teenagers went into their basement and they did what they knew how to do as computer engineers, and they coded and they made the platform that is now a public foundation, Canada Helps, that has facilitated $1.6 billion in those 20 years. And this last year in 2020, when our community needed a platform online and so many small charities still reject technology, the team facilitated $480 million. But we can't forget that it was all going back to that church pew and to those 3 teenagers. You know what I didn't know until years later, 15th anniversary, I found out that that church was my church. And I actually was babysitting one of the founders before that. And I remember telling his mom, you need to discipline this kid some more because he thinks he's a genius. Turns out he's a genius. And all three of them had this idea and they did something. What's the takeaway? Because why do I wish I thought of that? There's many platforms like that out there. Since then, we've got donor advised funds, we've got crowdfunding. I wish that I was more bold as a fundraiser, to fight my own boards and bosses, to meet my donors where they are. It's 2021. Apple Wallet, cryptocurrency, e-transfer. As usual, the charitable sector is lagging behind, waiting for private business and others to lead the way, large charities to lead the way, and everybody else then to benefit from the trickle down. And we know that's not what the public wants, that's not what our donors want, and that's not what we need. I took away from learning about this story how something so big in the billion-dollar impact range came down to three young people in a basement who knew what the need was and had the bold idea and the bold action to do something. And I hope as fundraisers in the Sophie community, and all these great stories that Sophie tells reminds us that if we show up for our donors, they're going to be there for us. And that we need to be maybe a little bit more bold in meeting them where they are today and tomorrow. The work that I do with the Canadian Association of Gift Planners is in legacy giving, like so many of you in the Sophie community, especially in the United Kingdom. We know legacy giving is our donors telling us they care, that they'll be there for us. This right now is the largest generation ever in our country with the least amount of kids. More people than ever have the potential to leave a legacy, but do we trust them? Do we make it easy for them? Do we meet them where we are? And I hope that's your takeaway today from this incredible story that inspires me so much, that all of our fancy fundraising came down to three teenagers in a church pew who said, let's do something. Let's do what we can. Let's use the tools that we have at our disposal to make whatever difference we can, and they made $1 billion difference. I wish I thought of that. Thanks, Sophie, for the opportunity to tell this story. And as the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, we are grateful for all you do to put these great legacy stories online for us to learn from and learn together.
Paul Nazareth.
Come on, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone apparently was loving the look. You know, the the outfit was definitely a vibe. Yeah, let's bring him on the stage because we have some really awesome things that we want to talk to Paul about.
Yeah, let's bring him on.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
How are you?
Doing great. Excited.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I first want to say that I appreciate you just kind of trying to bring us forward and say, you know, we need to stop lagging behind. You know, that was a really important point that I just wrote down. Just that is just we're lagging behind, and there's work to be done. So thank you.
And meet donors where they are. Because wow,
so many opportunities today.
Yeah. And 3 kids. I mean, it's just like there's so much of the message in there. Just you got to get out and you got to be bold every single day and wear your heart on your sleeve. Because you know the other thing I think people don't talk about a lot is what an opportunity we present to help people feel better when they give. Do you know what I mean? It's like that whole people are almost embarrassed, but you brought that out in your talk. It was just.
And, you know, fundraisers feel this in our gut. We know what's going on, right? All of our boards and bosses don't want to talk about crowdfunding. Every time there's a good story, bad story, tragedy, we see it happen and we know we're missing out. Yep. So, you know, for me, a lot of times I've had to do it, you know, off the book, keep learning outside. That's what Sophie's all about until you get that permission, until you can prove the case. You know, I get laughed at still about cryptocurrency and all that. And, you know, 2 years ago, I helped a lawyer colleague of mine who said, listen, I got 4 buddies who are pizza boys. They live in their mom's basement, but they invested in Bitcoin and they're millionaires. And they want to give to charity. And all the charity said to them, you're teenagers. What do we want to talk to you about major gifts for? They had like $6 million between the 4 of them. So when I talk about meeting donors where they are, these are exceptional stories. But why wait until they become the norm? And then again, we're behind the trend. And as usual, all the big charities, all the big players reap those benefits.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, so we definitely have a question for you from the audience. Someone wanted to know, a question from Paul actually. He asks, can you share a little bit about what the original or first version of Canada Help looked like?
You know, one of my great leaders when I worked in donor advised funds used to say every day, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Yes. And the first iterations of everything, Canada Helps all of it, wasn't great. And this is what websites are never finished. That's the reality. So they started year one, they raised 150 grand. In less than 5 years, they were up to 5, almost 10 million. And again, constantly scale. I joined years ago. There were 12 people. Again, 3 kids in the basement can change the world. So don't overthink it with anything. Again, Giving Tuesday was created as a mad scientist workshop to try new things in donor love and donor stewardship and being engaging. So, you know, again, if you don't have permission at work, be the mad scientist in your basement. Let's get out there. Let's try new things. Again, that's why also I join boards. I join boards to do crazy things because now I'm the board member. So, you know, it's really important that we keep that spirit of innovation.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I talk all the time with you know, when I'm talking with clients and colleagues and stuff, like we kind of need like a skunk works, you know what I mean? Just where you can just get in there and just sort of, hey, what if?
And that's what Sophie's all about, right? Again, N10 in the States, we need places. That's what, again, I represent a professional association. That's what we do for each other. You know, again, one of the biggest growth areas on Canada Helps in the past number of years has been donations of stocks, securities, and bonds, which in Canada, massive tax benefit, but only the wealthy know about it because only the wealthy get advice. Everybody's got access to it. Small charities, small donors, huge. Now it's like over $20 million, this platform. And we got to start somewhere. So get into those areas and test.
Wow. Yeah, testing. Exactly. Hey, I think we got one more question for you, Paul. Let me just see if I can find it. Hold on. For our many non-Canadian viewers, can you explain more about what Canada Helps does today? How have they diversified, developed the original concept?
For sure. You know, and we've got other examples of this all over the world, Network for Good in the States and others. Basically, these teenagers created a vehicle like a community foundation that just lived online. That was it. They created the legal framework to accept donations and make grants and do receipting. It's like a community foundation, like a United Way, a community giving concept. They use the government's data to list all charities and do that kind of live vettings and just open up that access. And that's our challenge, is that all the new things like crowdfunding, et cetera, you know, technology will use speed, but not compliance. And when it comes to receipting and transparency and accountability, that has still been the disconnect, even 20 years later.
Right.
Wow. Bravo. I mean, honestly, I'm so grateful to have you here. Really, thank you so much. And somebody also said you're the sharpest dresser in fundraising. So I thought you ought to know that.
My job is to fight lawyers. That's I'll put it out there for us. You know, it's career development. Find me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat about why.
Awesome.
I'm going to be throwing you some competition pretty soon. So just get ready, you know, bring out your best. Okay.
See you, buddy.
Take care, Paul. Wow. Super. Really, really fabulous. Yeah, he's such a good speaker. I always enjoy listening to Paul.
Yeah. He brought
so I think I'm introducing the last speaker. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I'll get right to it. So all the way from Alaska today, she's in the chat box already, and I'm already telling her how ashamed I am that I'm wearing a hat and mittens and she's coming from Alaska. Anyway, Trina Landlord is the development director at the Alaska Federation of Natives, and it's the largest, I'm just going to read for 1 second because I want you guys to hear this. It's the largest statewide Native organization in Alaska and represents more than 140,000 Native peoples, about 1 out of every 5 Alaskans. Now wait, just listen to this. So Trina's work on Alaska Native issues earned her a fellowship at the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, where she co-authored an Indigenous Human Rights Manual on ways that Indigenous peoples can advocate for their interests at the international level. Right on, Trina. I'm just going to turn it right over to Trina and let her share with you this absolutely astounding idea. Take it away, Trina.
Chamai, Ataga, Trina, Misak, Landlord, Mountain Village, Village Amak, Anchorage Amashu. Hello, my name is Trina Misak, Landlord. I am Inuit from Anchorage, Alaska, and I wanted to start with saying I wish I would have thought of this. The Indian Collective intro is Native America is rising, a recent quote by the nonprofit Quarterly. Native American is rising in politics, activism, new partnerships in philanthropy, journalism, and culturally. The Indian Collective was launched on Indigenous Peoples Day on October 8, 2018, co-founded by Nick Tilson, who is dedicated to Indigenous power. The Indian Collective is dedicated to building Indigenous power through organizing, capacity building, and narrative change. Less than 0.3% of philanthropic dollars go to Indigenous communities, despite disproportionate poverty and challenges in vital areas such as education and infrastructure. The Indian Collective has shifted the balance. In 30 months, the group has raised $37 million with about 80,000 individual donors who provided 20% of Indians' total funding. The rest mainly from institutional philanthropy. So, for example, they received a $12 million grant from Jeff Bezos' Earth Fund. Indian aims to grow and provide $50 million in grants a year. The 5 areas of the organization are Indian Foundation, Indian Fund, Indian Partners, Indian Action, and Indian Action Network, which are designed to work in tandem to carry out the Indian Collective mission and philosophy. The 3 pillars of their philosophy are the D in Indian stands for defend, develop, and decolonize. Their theory of change is to defend air, land, and water rights in the community. Develop means to support inclusive regenerative economies that strengthen community wealth. And the D stands for decolonization, which means support for Indigenous languages, ceremonies, lifeways, and political decision-making structures. Indian Collective vision is for economic justice that builds on the group's values, principles of the interconnectedness of all things, Indigenous self-determination, and equity and justice for all people and the planet. Indian Collective has insisted on only supporting Indigenous-led efforts with boards that are 100% Indigenous and staff that are at least 70% Indigenous. In its grants, like the Community Self-Determination Program, Indian is committed to make 6-figure grants and hopes to raise enough funds to provide multi-year general operating support. One particular grant project was the creation of Indian COVID-19 Response Project to quickly provide grants, communications, and strategic support to tribal nations, frontline Indigenous-led organizations, and individuals who were providing essential services to Indigenous communities in North America during the global health pandemic. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention have found that COVID-19 is affecting Native American and Alaska Native people and suffered a disproportionate burden of COVID-19 illness during this pandemic. The pandemic is affecting Native Americans and Alaska Natives, one of the racial and ethnic minority groups at higher risk from disease. CDC found that in 23 selected states, the cumulative incidence of laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 cases among Native Americans and Alaska Natives was 3.5 times that of non-Hispanic whites. The CDC studies have shown that Alaska Natives and Native Americans are among the racial and ethnic minority groups at higher risk for severe COVID-19 outcomes. Persisting racial inequity and historical trauma have contributed to disparities in health,
socioeconomic factors, and white populations that have adversely affected tribal communities. The elevated incidence within this population might also reflect differences in reliance on shared transportation, limited access to running water, household size, and other factors that might facilitate community transmission. CDC, using a multifaceted approach, has provided more than $200 million in COVID funding to Indian country, which will support tribes and tribal organizations in carrying out COVID-19 preparedness and response activities, including surveillance, epidemiology, laboratory capacity, infection control, and mitigation. This design, going back to Indian Collective and their COVID response project, was to quickly provide resources to Indigenous communities from the economic impacts, stresses to public services, and combating the spread of misinformation due to COVID-19. The first phase of the project was focused on supporting essential services to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 while awaiting resources from the federal stimulus package to reach tribes and Indigenous urban communities. The $10 million multi-phase project was launched with an initial investment of $3.5 million from Indians partners and is actively seeking additional resources to bolster the on-the-ground responses and long-term emergency transition and recovery planning. The project prioritized projects and requests that demonstrated experience and capability can detail the effective immediate response planning, access to expanded health service, adequate housing, additional funding for food and supplies that will benefit their communities to support Indigenous people during the hard times through their defend, develop, and decolonize philosophy. The Indian Collective is fulfilling a mission to advocate, amplify, and acknowledge and uplift Indigenous voices, perspectives, and worldviews. If you work for and with Indigenous communities, it's critical that we have a voice at the table, not just a seat at the table, but to listen and to be heard. The strength of our people have had the ingenuity and inventiveness that have given us the strength to survive for thousands of years. Our survival is based on adaptation and the ability to respond to changes. My personal belief is through an Inuit traditional value of reciprocity that my grandmother taught me. In giving, you receive. And with that, I wish I would have thought of that.
Come on, Trina. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. And I know that we already had a whole bunch of questions coming in for Trina while she was delivering that absolutely astounding presentation. And she dropped some statistics on us that I had no idea were a thing. So if it's all right, shall we bring her right on?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah.
Trina, really, really outstanding presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was
Yeah.
exciting to present some of these facts and figures and get this organization some visibility and engagement.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. If it's okay, I just want to start out with this first question, which is it's a bit of a big question. How well do you think other charities engage with Indigenous people?
That's a good question. I appreciate it. Thank you. So 0.3% of philanthropic dollars go to Indigenous communities, which are comprised of Alaska Natives, Native Americans. So to answer your question very pointedly, not very much support and give dollars to Indigenous communities. And this is, there's a lot of dollars out there, and I think that we can do a better job of supporting and engaging with Indigenous communities across the United States.
Yeah, you're here. I agree.
One of the other questions we had was, do you know where the donors came from locally around the U.S. or globally?
That's a good question that I do not know. I had reached out to the organization to get some specifics. However, they're busy raising $37 million. And so I was unable to get that fact and figure for you. So
sure, no worries, no worries. We're still looking here.
Yeah. I'm just going to take one thing. How did they raise so much money from individual donors? Was this online, through direct mail, or another route?
Another question. Thank you. I do not know the answer to that. I wish I had more information for you. Again, they're busy out there connecting with, engaging with, building relationships, and continuing to gain community investment. So another question that I don't have the answer to.
No worries.
You
No
came
worries.
with so much information, so don't worry about that at all. We are so appreciative of
Yeah, I'm actually hearing from other people are texting me privately on my own phone, other fundraisers, and they're like, this is blowing me away. I can't believe this. Like, just you really, I mean, I've got all kinds of messages coming through right now. So I wanted to, if I could just ask you one question personally. So I do a lot of human rights fundraising. And one of the things that fascinated me is you brought out this facet of the campaign itself, where was combating misinformation around COVID-19. And I found that fascinating because that's one of the things that one of my other clients does. Do you have any idea how they did that?
Let's see. So human rights, something that you and I both have in common. I had a fellowship at the UN, and misinformation. I think that is a very big, challenging question. Misinformation, especially about the passing and the approval of the COVID vaccine. I think that there may be some assumptions or discussions online on social media about like whether or not the vaccine was passed too fast, or there's some hesitation about side effects or symptoms. So I think that there is quite a lot of room for us to, and up here in Alaska, because it's the disproportionate rates among Alaska Natives for COVID, like we have a high percentage of our people getting COVID, and so when I think about that misinformation, we formed a task force in partnership with a local tribal health organization to do this precise topic, is to give out accurate, simple information to make sure that our people, our healthcare, our policies, our every facet is giving the same message, and giving the hashtag here in Alaska is not me COVID. So hashtag not today COVID. So it's two-part, not today COVID. So that's been a social media campaign that we have worked really hard on getting the message out there.
Awesome.
Awesome. And Sophie has also said that for some of the questions we were unable to answer, that they will try to get answers for those for the Sophie exhibit as well. So.
Oh, terrific.
We hear you. We definitely hear you. And there's lots of discussions apparently going on in the chat. And people are definitely waiting for you, Trina. And we just want to thank you for bringing this to our attention and taking the time out of your day to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you very much. An honor. Wow. Okay. So we need to tell people that the voting is open, correct?
Yes. So we have finished our presentations, and it's time for you guys to take your vote on which idea was your favorite. There will be an option for you guys to choose the picture of the person whose idea you connected with the most, maybe something you'll be taking on to your own organization. So that should be popping up for you guys for sure.
Yeah. There's one thing, I just have to jump back really quick, and they don't have to bring anybody else on, but in Trina's presentation, the NDN collective that she talks about, I just have to share this one thing with you because I was so fascinated. I went to their website like this morning when I saw her talk. Listen to this. So one of their goals, their mission, is to exercise our inherent right to self-determination while fostering a world that is built on a foundation of justice and equity for all people and the planet. So like for me, it goes way back to Kimberly Mckenzie and what she's talked about and all the speakers. Like to me, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here to make a better world. And like this IWITOT or IWITOT, however you want to say it, that's what it's all been about. And it just, for me, it just wrapped it all up.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely gave us the opportunity to explore our own creativity, you know, getting to swim in someone else's and just see how constantly, case after case, the community will come out and support. We just have to remember that for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And Suhaila, honestly, the greatest co-host ever you are. I just really enjoyed spending this time with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's such a gift for me.
I am honored to be here with you guys. Lisa, you, of course, you know, are a legend in this industry. You have done so much for the fundraising world, and I'm just really grateful to be coming into a space where we have so many leaders that are cultivating conversations that only will create a better opportunity for me in this profession. And so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're going to be a rock star, Suhaila.
Thank you.
Sure. For sure. And just in case anybody wants to pay forward the love that they got here today, somewhere down there at the bottom of the screen, there's a donate button or a link to Sophie where you can go. And Sophie relies on donations as well. So definitely give if you can.
Yeah, they made this happen for us. I mean, we had some amazing moderators behind the scene. You know, Joanna pulled this all together for us. She's the one who reached out to me. I was so excited to talk to her. Simon has been the, you know, tech wizard, keeping us all in line. He was super dope. You know, Fiona has been, you know, consistently coming back with the questions from the audience. And so we are so excited and happy to know that there was a team here to really uplift and support this whole, you know, production. This is a huge feat.
Yep, absolutely. And a great joy. And the huge thanks at the end. I know you echo this as well. Every single person out there who's attending or listening to the recording or bought a ticket, seriously, big love for you guys. We're so grateful to walk this fundraising world with you.
Seriously. I know that there's been so much rumblings going on Twitter, so I cannot wait to jump back in and see what happens. And like get to see who was in the audience. So if you guys, you know, attended, definitely shout, you know, reach out to us, and we want to talk with you and see what you learned, you know, in this space. So yeah, let's keep the communication going.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I don't know what we do. I think we just say thank you very much and see what we get for instructions from people. Do we have a? Let's see.
So we actually
tomorrow.
Yes. So
no. What do we say here?
She is here.
Tamara is here.
She is here to answer some Q&A for us. We weren't able to have Tamara here earlier, and we had some amazing questions come up, and we really want to be able to dive in with her and get to some of these things. So we're going to just go ahead and bring her on in just a moment. Hey girl, hey.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me on. Sorry, I had some issues earlier, but I really appreciate your time while people are voting. Thank you.
You had a bunch of questions.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing Sophie across the water here. I know, speaking for Canadian fundraisers, this collaboration is much needed, especially during this time. So I've been loving this. This is so great.
Yeah. Tamara, we really loved your presentation. It really it reminded us of like really what we were experiencing as a whole. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront. Yeah, one of the questions that came up is how you mentioned that DTES thanked their donors a lot. Do you know how, and what else did they do to create a great supporter experience?
Yeah, so some of the ways I did speak to the fundraisers upon doing this, and some of the ways that stuck out to me was just they wrote several blogs, so they constantly updated their supporters. They of course, that were posted on social media and on their website, but they also emailed their supporters, and they just let them know what was happening, and they were very appreciative throughout the whole entire process. And then they created a monthly donor program, and that was, they called it like the community circle. And then they really showed that their donors, where their money was going, and they really were like, I think communication was the key thing here. So
yeah,
mhm.
that is awesome. We also have another question, which was that you said this was a small team. How many fundraisers were actually responsible for this hugely successful and swiftly executed campaign?
Yeah, just one fundraiser. Yeah.
One.
Yeah, Amanda Burrows, who actually, she's in Vancouver. She's the sole fundraiser, and so yes, it was a big feat. But yeah, they had very limited time, and during crises, you have very limited time to mobilize. But they just did the best that they could. But the team was about five people in total.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really impressive. And fun Facebook ads. I know that was a lot of times you hear Facebook ads bash, but they can be really super effective.
Yeah. I think Facebook reached out to them and offered some free advertising. They were just compelled by their story. So, and they did say that it really went a long way. And they really recommend that for anyone who's looking to fundraise that way.
Wow, it's awesome. A lot of lessons to be learned there for sure. Good data, your quote about good data. I love that.
Yeah, I actually learned that myself during this process. And so they asked their every individuals to volunteer and volunteering by just spreading the word. And so with one person to spread it to at least 5 people, their story. And that was done so many times over, and that got their list longer and longer. So I thought that was a very clever idea.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, what do we have here? I think, wait a minute, we have one more. 70 monthly donors is great. Post-pandemic, what will happen to those donors? That's, of course, that's a 2-part question. And then will the DTS campaign response continue indefinitely, supporting the group of nonprofits that they have served already?
Yeah, 70 monthly donors. So 70 monthly donors. They're looking to continue their work. There's some murmurs of becoming a charitable organization themselves, so which is very exciting for them. They're continuing to support the community right now. They have 2 long-term community projects, which are a cooking kitchen campaign where they're still continuing to do that. That started out during the pandemic, and that's continuing on now, which is really great. So there's lots of lasting effects from their initial response.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's impressive.
Thank you so much for jumping on and talking with us.
Yeah.
A lot of conversation going on around your presentation, so we appreciate you coming back to answer.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for hosting. Awesome job.
Thank
both
you
of
so much.
Yeah. All the best.
Take care tomorrow. And we have a message here. Winner is, would you like to do the honors?
Yes. For the evening or for the afternoon, it's going to be Kimberly. We are so grateful for her presentation. Lisa, you introduced our first speaker so well, and I would love for you to wrap this around because we want to wrap around our arms around Kimberly for bringing us such an amazing idea through the Book of Life conversation.
Yep, the Book of Life and Legacy, which I think is really Kimberly Mckenzie, a great topic that she chose. Legacy, the power of legacy giving, the power of when you drip feed legacy marketing. People, don't stop doing that because it's hugely important. So congratulations, Kimberly. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And congratulations to every speaker, really. I know I'm not supposed to say stuff like that, but you're all winners or whatever. But honestly, I I could never have picked a winner for me. Like they were all, I took something valuable away from every single speaker today.
Yeah, seriously. You know how sometimes like you have like a lot of notebooks lying around with filled with notes, but you never actually finish a notebook? Well, because of this event, I actually came really close to finishing one of my notebook of notes because there was so much information that I just had to get out. Because it's just such a profitable space to be in when we're sharing ideas for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. 100%.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you all for having us. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Sohila.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Love you guys. Keep fundraising.
Yes. And now we're
over to Joe.
That was amazing. What a fantastic array of inspirational fundraising ideas. Before we go, I just want to say another thank you to all our supporters, all our speakers, our sponsors, the team behind the scenes. Take a bow, guys. And of course, to you for attending. I hope to see you soon at another IWITOT. Bye-bye.